Hey everybody, welcome.
Oh,
I'm Joseph Goodman of Goodman Games. I'll pass the baton to Chris to introduce himself.
Hey everybody, I'm Chris Doyle of Goodman Games, director of the 5e side of the house.
and my name is Matt Hildebrand. I am the art director for Goodman Games, and I get to work with Chris every stinking day.
Every stinking day.
Every day.
How is
Sometimes on the
that?
weekend too.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. We have a lot in common, and we teach each other a lot of things. I've learned a lot from Chris, and hopefully
No,
vice versa.
we should play a game sometime together.
What? That sounds crazy.
That's a good idea. At a
It is a
gaming
good
company, seems natural.
idea.
So I hear you guys have been working on something called Terror from the Underdeep.
Yeah, just every waking hour.
Yeah, I know.
It's good. It's good.
It's going pretty good. The fans seem pretty excited. We have over 1,000 backers. Lots of people going in for the box set and the floppy modules or floppy adventures and some miniatures too and all that stuff.
Yeah, it seems like those updated adventures, those classic adventures are doing really well. Classic and like most popular, right? I mean, those are some of the best ones we've done. There's
Yeah.
a reason the 5e crowd wants to see them. It totally makes sense to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
we're
sure.
literally beginning getting the requests for Sailors on the Starless Sea for, I'm gonna have to say, at least 4 or 5 years that people have asked for that one. So
Mhm.
so that's not surprising. I mean, to see a translation of that. So, and I think it's gonna be great. It's just gonna expose even more and more fans to just an amazing adventure written
Yeah,
by Harley. So I think it's gonna be really cool.
awesome.
That's cool.
So I thought maybe we could start the show by recapping. So by the way, everybody, the point of this goal is a stretch goal show is a stretch goal reveal show. So it's been amazing how many people have pledged. We're just under 205,000 right now, and we had stretch goals mapped out to 200,000. And so we've been brainstorming on new stretch goals and listening to backers. Several backers had some really good ideas for things we could do to enhance the project when we talked about what we were planning. So we're gonna unveil the new stretch goals as well as some chances for backers to participate in the product creation process. So I figured we could start by recapping the stretch goals we've already cleared just to ground everybody and frankly to toot our own horn because it's kind of amazing how much people have allowed us to expand this project and then kind of go from there. Does that sound good?
Sounds
Cool.
great.
Good here.
Okay. So Lena, I think you have some graphics. Maybe we could start with the first graphic and we can just talk through all the stuff we have cleared so far. But let's see, the first one was the tables of giants bag contents. And Chris, actually, why don't you tell everybody? This is two of the stretch goals, number one and number three. But Chris had some great ideas for this.
So in the original classic adventure, which we've taken inspiration from, there was a table. I believe it was in the Hill Giant adventure in the very first
Nice.
one. There was a table
Yeah.
of random stuff that you could find in a giant's bag. Basically, it's the classic trope that giants always carry a big sack with them to put their humans in, or whatever they're carrying, their pigs or their cows or evergreen trees or whatever it might be. So the thought is we were like, oh, that'd be really good. Like we got really into the design process when we kind of came up with that idea. And I was like, well, that sounds like a great stretch goal idea. Like, but how can we make it better? How can we make it cooler? And I was like, oh, let's do a different themed table for each of the iconic giants. So there's 6 tables that you're gonna get, which is just awesome. And they're each of them are thematic to that specific giant. I mean, a storm giant's not gonna have moldy cheese in it like a hill giant might. So that's where we went with that. And it's just really cool. It's just a really neat little thing that, do you need it to run the big saga? No, you definitely don't. But like, does it make things cooler? Definitely. And could you take that and use it in your other games somewhere else? Without a doubt. So,
Yeah.
so we love things like that where you get utility out of it and it could be applied in many different ways. So, very excited about that. And I've seen the tables; they're really neat. So, and of course, we had to like, I was thinking it was going to be a die 20, but then I was like, wait a minute, there's a die 24 available in this campaign, so why not just make the table 1 through 24?
That
So
works.
that's what we
Yeah.
did.
So that was the 40K stretch goal was the first 3 bags of that. And then actually let's skip to the 65K stretch goal, which was the bonus 2-page delve. Chris, you want to tell everybody about that?
So the 2-page delves, we rolled this out during our Dungeon Denizens campaign last year, where basically it's a complete little sub adventure. It's like a little sidetrack can play in one session. It's completely on 2 pages. There's one map, there's one illustration, and then there's like 3 to 5, 3 to 6 encounter areas. Really super easy to use. In the original Dungeon Delves for Dungeon Denizens, we had them in a variety of locations. They're all different, settings, levels, and the whole 9 yards. For this project, we have two things. We have the Underdelves, which is a whole nother different book, but for the stretch goals, we are releasing basically giant themed delves. So we've got 6 of them, well, 5 of them we have for 5 of the iconic different giant types. So each of these will feature around one of the types of giants, and it'll be 2 pages long. You'll get it. It'll be in the stretch goal book, which we'll talk probably about a little bit later. What else is going to be in that stretch goal book? So this is really cool. So these are additional, basically little sub encounter areas that you could sprinkle in while you're using this, or just use it for your regular game.
And so we have 40K, the bag of giants contents, 65K, the first bonus 2-page delve, which this one is a hill giant. So basically, Chris, would it be accurate to say it's a short scenario featuring hill giant you can play in one session, maybe 2, 3, 4 hours,
Yep.
all contained on 2 pages in a book.
Yep.
Super easy to reference, super easy to work with. Yeah.
Perfect. That's a great way to sum it all up.
Okay, good. All your hard work in 2 sentences. So yeah,
Yep.
okay. And then at 75K was 3 more tables of random giants bags. So that was stretch goal number 3. And what I like about this, and we'll talk more about this, but is Chris, either you or Mike had this idea, but this is actually from another project, Dungeon Denizens, but you guys had the idea of doing a GM screen, and the back would have handy reference for that particular, in this case, it's monster reference. But so the idea is that we can build to a GM screen for this project where maybe the inside has, handy reference, including some of the tables, or even we printed on the clamshell box, which we'll talk about in a sec. But
Yep.
Yeah. So TBD on exactly where we print these, folks. We're definitely going to do a stretch goal booklet that'll have the hill giant 2-page delve and the tables of giants bag contents, but may also appear elsewhere.
Yes, they're definitely going to be in the stretch goal book, and then they might show up in some other areas that you'll find very useful to have at your game table.
Yeah. And then at 100K, there was another 2-page delve, which was the stone giant delve, if I'm remembering right. And then at 125K was the upgraded maps.
Yes.
And when we say upgraded, it basically means bigger, bigger and more better, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Bigger maps, more better maps.
Yeah. And something Chris and I were talking about earlier today, definitely bigger. We can go from sort of 11 by 17 to like 22 by 17, if I'm doing my math right. It's got a full down to 8.5 by 11, but I think that math still works. But also this possibility of maybe doing a player's map, like some of like an overland map where you remove all the secret stuff and fuzz out the gray and then add hexes where the players can fill in with their own, we encountered the whatever at this square, something like that. So depending on how far we go in this project, they'll be upgraded to various levels of upgrades. And then at 150K, we had the Frost Giant bonus delve. And actually, Elena's showing the graphics as we go. Matt, do you want to talk about, Aaron's art and how there's like an illustration for every stretch goal?
There totally is, and these are amazing. I think we enlisted his help with Caverns of Thracia, and he had a series of graphics that you could almost kind of tell a story with, and some of these are the same way. But in any case, the storytelling in each individual image is amazing. I think there's a frost giant blowing the hat off an adventurer that he's got in his chilly grip. But these these are going to live definitely on our Backerkit page. Last time we had a stretch goal where we added those to a book of handouts, so these could all be almost like in-game opportunities for a GM to hold up this image and say, "And here's what you see." And I think a ton of these would make for great accessories to the delves that we've been discussing, or graphics. As you're working through the campaign of Terror from the Underdeep itself.
Yeah.
His work's amazing, and he just keeps killing it every time we
Yeah.
ask him to do something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that illustration is great. Like the scale and the blowing the hat off is fun. And then
It
from
is.
there, we had 2 other delves cleared. At 175K, the Fire Giant delve, with another great Aaron Crater illustration. And then at 200K, which we just cleared, I think a day or 2 ago,
Yes.
the Cloud Giant delve.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is where we are right now, folks. Now we're going to talk about some brainstorming on next steps and then unveil the actual, next set of stretch goals. But Elena, if you can show the clamshell box, and I think some people heard us talk about this on the previous show, but I'm going to show off my sample. Again, we are not selling this book, but it's a great inspiration for what we want to do. You can buy it on Amazon. It was on sale at a great price. But we were talking about, we do lots of box sets. We all kind of love fancy printing. And this is a great example. I actually have a bunch of versions of this in my book collection of different kinds of clamshell boxes, but this one, you know, is in our world. So instead of a box set, which is just detachable boxes, it has the hinges and they close into each other. And in the publishing world, they call this a clamshell box. And it also presents you with the opportunity to do stuff with the interior. For this book, they did these elastic straps, which could hold stretch goals maybe. And you can print, they did just a flood of red, but you could theoretically print on the interior as well to get some sort of, you know, tables of hill giant or giant's bag contents. So if you haven't upgraded to this, everybody, you can upgrade for 20 bucks. This is not going to be offered in stores afterwards. This is just for the crowdfunding. And the more we thought about it, I love what they did with this Art and Arcana box. And when I was talking to my printer, it does cost more to get these little elastic straps, but that's where we started talking about maybe upgrading this box as well. So that's where some of the stretch goals are going to go.
Yeah, I think that could be a great place to print some maps, but then, like you said, Joseph, have those little straps. So there's could be a variety of different things depending on what a GM wanted to put inside, and that can change over the course of the campaign, right? Like this is appropriate today, and then next time we're going to get together. So I want this chart instead, etc.
Because don't forget, folks, you get free PDFs with all this. So since you'll have the PDF, you can just print that page out, a single page of the map that they happen to be going through right now, or maybe the Hill Giant bag contents table or something, and then you can just slip that right up in there, and then you've got it for that particular session. And then when you're done with that session, you just, you know, recycle it responsibly, and then you put a different one in there too, or save it or pass it along to the next game master who used it.
There you go.
So
We're going to start a Game Meister recycling club. Get your
Exactly.
used handouts. Yeah. I guess that's what game conventions are for. Maybe that should be a new game convention feature. Leave your used handouts here. Yeah.
That's
anyway,
funny.
that's a great call, Chris. Yeah. There's a lot of uses for it once you start thinking about it. So that in mind, the other thing I wanted to show people, we keep talking about 2-page delve, and like that is obvious to us because we've done this, and other people might have no idea what we're talking about. So Elena, if you could show some of those screenshots of what they look like in printed form. And for those who backed Dungeon Denizens, it's actually shipping to backers now. We've shipped out something like 2,000 boxes, but it was a huge project. So you might still be waiting on this, but if you added this to your Dungeon Denizens pledge, you'll get 2-page inner delves, and it'll be the format that you see on the screen now, which is these 2-page spreads, each of which has a map, an illustration, and everything you need for one scenario in one page. So it's got, Chris, I think you said on average 3 to 4 hours of adventure, kind of real time. I mean, it's like one session basically packed into only 2. It's tell them about it, Chris. It's so clever and easy to use.
It's a concise little storyline. It's think of it as kind of a one encounter, but with a couple of different sub areas and stuff like that. So it might be a monster's lair, or the one that Joe just put up was a vault that was created by gnomes from a clockwork college, and inside the vault is whatever the GM wants that's going to suit their campaign. It doesn't actually tell you what's in there, but basically it's a map, and it's all the details on how you actually get into that vault and do it. And then, you know, it takes the game master a little bit effort. It's like, well, how do I put that into my campaign and everything? But we keep them as generic as possible, so it's easy to drop in. And it's, like I said, it's something where you could grab. You ever have those instances where maybe not everybody shows up for your game night, or all of a sudden it's like, hey, we want to play a game. Like literally a game master could grab this, read the 2 pages, however long it takes you to read 2 pages, and you're playing. I mean, if you've got characters and everything. So this would be great at conventions. Stores are probably going to like this. Stores have always told us that they like short adventures that they could play in like 2 hours, that they could kind of show off the product. So it's very versatile. Folks, if they know my background, know that I like these big, sprawling, huge 450-page box sets, spawning, sprawling campaigns and everything. And I hated this idea when we were first talking about it. I was like, 2-page adventure. I'm like, this is terrible. And it's like, and then I did a couple of them, and it's a great exercise to actually teach yourself to write. We call that economy of words, to actually get all of your ideas and thoughts down into 2 pages. So it was actually kind of fun, and I've really come around on them. I kind of like them now, and my my freelance contributors, they love doing them too, because they could work them in like along other bigger projects and everything.
Yeah.
So they really enjoy doing them. Kind of like monster design, same thing. So
Yeah. So with that in mind, I think, Chris, what we talked about was, this is also, like you just said, for freelancers, for writers who are published or want to get published, this is a easy way to get your foot in the door. It's not a ton of words. It's maybe 4 to 8 encounters, depending on how they structure it, as I just kind of look through most of these. And so your idea was we open this up and let backers submit. Maybe tell everybody how backers can not submit to this. This is printed, but the one you see on your screen, 2-page Underdelves, is what backers can submit to.
So we did this for Dungeon Denizens, where we let backers, we unlocked slots for monsters, basically, where we asked them to design a monster. So same concept, except instead of a monster, we want an entire 2-page delve, and we want them to be, we're calling them underdelves because there's a huge chapter in the campaign where you're traveling through the Underdeep. And when you're traveling through the Underdeep, you've got all these little encounter areas and stuff like that. So it's the perfect place for more little encounters that drop in, these little layers and stuff like that. So we decided we were going to do a whole book of them. And then we were thinking, as we were doing our process of planning this out, we're like, well, this is the perfect opportunity to get some backers involved in the design process, so that they can actually design some alongside of the veteran Goodman Games designers, who are already done several in the book. So we can kind of hand to hand. So we will be putting out submissions. I think I'm going to release the submission guidelines next week. I haven't actually cleared this through the powers that be, but I'm thinking next Tuesday there will be an update and it'll go through the submission process.
I approve this plan.
All right.
Let me write that down. Tuesday.
Yes. Tuesday, there'll be an update on how to submit your Underdelve, because we actually want folks to submit them while the campaign's going on, because again, we want to get all these books to the printer as quickly as we can. We'll probably extend it about a week after the campaign ends, which is February 11th. So you'll probably have about 3 weeks or so to work in these, but you'll have all the instructions on how to do it. You'll have some samples. It's pretty specific rules, but this is the perfect way that if you've always aspired to have a publication, this is the perfect way to try and get your foot in the door. And I will note that I am working with several of the folks who designed monsters for Dungeon Denizens, have contributed to Dungeon Denizens 2 already, and are actually doing other projects for us. So it does work. We will take a look with a careful eye of all these submissions. And if we like what we see, and if you want to do more of this type of things, we will work with you. We're always looking to expand our talent pool, and this is just a great way to do it. And also, what a great way to actually help shape a project that's on crowdfunding, where you get to contribute, where you're like, oh, I've got a great idea for a Kotoa temple or something like that. Well, send it to us, because we want to see that, and hopefully we want to publish that alongside with a bunch of other Underdelves. So hopefully folks will be interested, and we're going to hopefully Joe's going to explain how we're going to kind of unlock these slots and how many slots will be available.
Yeah, exactly. And so a certain amount of the content in the book will already be filled by some of the Goodman Games writers who you all know and love. And then, as Chris said, we're going to set aside some slots for backers to submit. And as Chris mentioned, people who have participated in this process in prior projects that we've had have gone on to have additional work commissioned from Goodman Games and other companies once people see what their work is like in print. So for those slots that we're going to open up to allow backers to submit, it's basically math around, this many backers, so many of them are going to be interested and able to write. And of those, we're going to get so many that are, of our high standards and something we can definitely publish. So at 1,000 backers, we're going to unlock 3 delves for submission. Just to be clear, we already broke 1,000 backers. So we're basically saying we're going to accept at least 3 submissions. And then this is like some sort of D&D formula for magic missile damage. But for every 100 additional backers, we will unlock 1 additional slot. So right now we're at 1,311, I think, if I checked right. Yeah.
Yep.
So that is 3 starter plus 3 additional for a total of 6 magic missiles / 6 submissions. So we're going to have 6 slots, or 6 2-page spreads in the 2-page Underdelves book that'll be set aside for backer submissions. Chris will post the deadline or the details next week for submission process. And if you have to back the campaign and actually get some of the product, the concept here is you're familiar with Goodman Games product, you know what our customers like because you are a customer, and you understand kind of our approach and our aesthetic and our, design philosophy from having appreciated our products. If you're joining this, just to make a submission and you've never read a Goodman Games product, Our fans aren't going to like that because what you submit will probably have a different vibe than what we usually do. So please be familiar with the product, back the project, and then you're eligible to submit. Anyway, yeah, but we'll post the details next Tuesday. We'll be looking for at least 6, and as the backer count goes up, we'll be willing to take up to, I think we said 13 if we get to 2,100 backers or more.
Yep.
And frankly, after a certain point, the book becomes unwieldy, so that's probably the upper limit. But for now, we definitely are going to have at least 6 slots set aside.
Yes. And like I said, all those details will be in the update next week. And we might, if there seems like there's desire, we might even do another live stream, kind of a question answer, kind of a where I can go over some details if folks, after they see the submission guidelines, maybe a week or so after that, where I'll jump on a live stream and actually kind of go through the process and basically in real time answer questions for folks if they're really interested in that. Because again, we want lots of these. When we did the open call for the monsters, we got hundreds of monster submissions. We only took 20 of them, but we have hundreds of them. This is a little bit more of an ask because it's a little bit more of a word count, and it's an actual little adventure. But once you see the delves, and don't worry, we'll give you an example delve to see what it's all about if you don't have the book or anything. So you'll see exactly the vibe that we're going for by one of our writers that did. So it'll all become clear. So basically for the next week or so, hype yourself up and get excited about doing this. And then when we drop those submission guides and everything, then we'll take it from there. And then obviously you can answer, and we'll answer any questions in the chat or during the campaign if folks have questions specifically about designing these.
And this is 2 tracks of stretch goals. So we're still going to talk through additional sort of dollar-based stretch goals, but we're sort of opening it up here for backer count based goals, which are all about backers being able to participate, shape the product, and make their submissions. So don't feel like trust me, there's more coming. This is just the beginning. So Chris, anything else we need to discuss on that, or?
I think that's pretty straightforward. I think we'll wait till next week. I'll get some guidelines put together and everything, and I think it'll be pretty straightforward.
Cool. Okay. So technically, we're going to open this up at 205K. However, given that we were $99 away from that, I'm fairly confident that's going to happen. So we're comfortable announcing it. So that in mind, we want to discuss now what I'll call the funding-based stretch goals. We're at, just under 205. We've cleared the 200K Cloud Giant. 205 is going to be backers submitting to Underdelves. And at 210, this is where we started talking about making these clamshell boxes even cooler. So I've been working with my printer, getting quotes and just sort of understanding the process of printing one of these. Because in Goodman Games, we've printed a lot of box sets. We've never actually done a clamshell box. One thing we often hear, like every time we do a box set, is backers want the ability to put the stretch goals in the box somehow. We're going to produce a stretch goal booklet out of this. So you'll have various elements like the Cloud Giant 2-page delve, et cetera. It won't be in the Underdelves book. It'll be in the stretch goal book along with whatever else winds up in there. And we always get requests from backers to size these things up. So at 210K, we're actually going to size the clamshell box up. It's actually costs a little bit more, which is why it's a stretch goal. But we will work with the printer to, if it needs to be a 1/4 inch thicker or whatever it is, just add additional space so you can store all your stretch goal items inside it and maybe even a few extra items. But upgrades to the clamshell box are going to be part of the plan. So that's 210. At 225K, as Chris pointed out, we have 5 of the 6 giant types.
Ooh, spoiler!
Cleared. Spoiler. You want to talk about the Storm Giant 2-page delve?
Yeah, so
225?
the Storm Giant delve, that'll be the last of the 2-page giant delves that we're gonna release. I've already actually seen this delve and I love it because it's focused around sharks. So the Storm Giants that we have in the massive saga are actually set underwater. Because Storm Giants can either be on top of a mountain or down in the depths of the deep. So you know it's me, so water's got to be involved. So really psyched. I believe this is called something of the Shark Father. So basically it's a Storm Giant that can control sharks and send you on a bunch of tests to see if you can pass his tests. So really cool. Very excited to see it. I really like. I think the map's gonna really pop on that one too. So that's going to be perfect. So you can slide that right into the entire saga as you're playing them. So
that's awesome. So
what I'm hearing, Chris, is if someone wants to submit their own delve, to back the project, submit their own delve, and they want to be included, then I think they need to include sharks and or something aquatic.
Well, I do fancy aquatic stuff. So
what's better, aquatic content or slipping $20 in the envelope? Is there
$20 is actually probably going to speak a little bit more. But anyway, no, it's like if folks are familiar with some of my other adventures, I think you could probably figure out what I like. So
Amen.
I'll
Amen.
leave it at that.
I didn't know the storm giants could be under the surface of the water like that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's so it's kind of weird actually if you think about it. Tops of
Mhm.
mountains and down on belief underwater. So
Hmm.
yeah, kind of weird.
Very
but
cool.
That's the way
Very
they
cool.
go. So
I dig it.
It makes me think of Valley Girls, but they're like Valley Giants, you know?
it used to be Valley Elves.
Stretch
Valley
goal.
Back in
Yeah.
fifth edition, there were Valley Elves. So they all talk really funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Moon unit giant. That's cool.
Check your mascara. It's like, all right. All right. So that's, what do we say? 225. So 235. And we're changing the increments a little here because some of these are independent of each other, which is the benefit of doing both content and, physicality. But at 235, we're going to do the clamshell box with interior printing. So just to be perfectly clear, I haven't yet figured this out with the printer. So Tiffany, if you're watching this, we'll work this out. But what they did here is they used this sort of red flood of color, which I really like. And we're going to work out with the printer. For example, maybe we put those tables of what's in a giant's bag and just put them on the interior of the clamshell box. There's a lot of possibilities for something that could be really cool here. Worst case, I've had experience in the past where boxes have sort of technical limitations, but worst case, what we can do is give you just basically two sort of sheets of paper that you can kind of put here and, glue them on yourself or whatever. The printer can't pull it off, but I think they'll probably be able to pull it off. So 235 is we will try to put interior printing on the clamshell box. At 250K was going to be the GM screen. So this is what we talked about earlier, where we already have some great concepts for content, but this is from Dungeon Denizens, not from this one, but Terror from the Underdeep specific GM screen. We have so much amazing art that we'll have a couple panels of art and then a couple panels of content on the inside. And then 275, the book of handouts. Maybe Matt, you want to talk about how we approach the book of handouts with some of the art from Caverns of Thracia?
Yep, totally the case. Yeah, in addition to, I think I mentioned that last time Aaron did some great artwork that was stretch goal related, and that ended up inside. But in addition to awesome maps that we do for each of these projects that we're working on, there inevitably is literal handouts that you find this thing as you're traveling, and it's important enough that it would be great to have a visual of this thing, right? To be able to just hand across the table to your players. I mean, maybe in some cases it's puzzle related. So the players can actually take this thing and hold it. Maybe, as Chris mentioned, you get a free PDF with everything you order from us. So you print out a page and let them actually write on it or tear it apart or whatever the case may be. I think that, we love playing at a table at Goodman Games. We love playing with our friends across tables. We love real dice. We love actual handheld items that are kind of bring everyone into the game, right? A little more inclusive and a little bit one step closer to actually being in this amazing world that we're trying to create. So that's what this handout book is going to contain. It probably will be some maps, probably some stretchable items, undoubtedly some items that that your players can find along the way. And I think it's always open for more. I mean, this handout booklet, I get the feeling is just going to get bigger and bigger as we progress through this campaign.
Yes.
And that's pretty
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
Yes, totally. So just to make sure everybody understands, the handouts will all be in the regular chapters with the big adventures. This is a separate booklet that the game master can just whip out at the game table, so he doesn't have to pull out the 200-page softcover book or whatever and fold it over and try and cover up the other page so they don't see what's going on there. So it's like a separate. It's clearly a kind of a quality of life at the game table kind of a thing, so that your ease of use, I would say.
Ease of use, yes.
Yeah. So don't worry, we're not taking them away from the main book. It's just because keep in mind, if you don't get the stretch goals books, you're not in the retail version will not have this little booklet in it. You guys are getting it special for this. So another reason to back now before we hit retail with this, all these extra cool things that you're going to get. So, and this will be wrapped in with that stretch goal book. It'll be a separate own little book. And I believe for Caverns of Thracia, we did it as a digest size book. Is that's correct, right? Yeah.
I think
So
that
this will
sounds right.
probably be a digest size book too, where each page is going to be one handout. So
yeah. Cool. So that's 275, the book of handouts. At 280, which is just a little bit past that, we're going to make additional upgrades to the clamshell box. I really want to make this just an amazing product. So the other thing we've talked, and so right now we're going to leave it kind of open and additional upgrades because we need to work back and forth with the printer. One component I really like is these elastic straps. They let you, if we print on here with some sort of content, this lets you attach a page to then show some other content, whether it's a reference table or a handout or something like that. And if there are stretch goals, it makes it easy for you to store them here. If there's stuff you want to just hold in place, they're just frankly really useful. So I'm going to work with a printer to get quotes for inside, maybe both, depending on what's feasible. But at 280, it'll basically be additional upgrades for the clamshell box to add even more utility at the game table.
Yep. And as the campaign goes on, we'll kind of give you more insights to that. And then after when the campaign ends and we're doing all of our monthly updates, we'll kind of give updates on where we're at with the clamshell box moving forward. So we'll keep everybody kind of in the loop on what we're thinking. And I mean, if you guys know anything that we've done previously, we have fun with this kind of stuff with foil treatments, embossing, debossing, now clamshelling and straps and all kinds of bookmarks, all kinds of cool stuff. Since we can't do bookmarks for a box set, we had to channel our creative energy somewhere else. So
Come clamshell with the Valley Girl gang or the Valley Giant gang. Yes.
I backed a project from Goodman Games, and all I got was clamshelled.
I do feel like there needs to be a giant clam delve in here somewhere.
I think there might be.
Cool.
Amen. Yeah.
And Martin has already claimed giant sea monkeys. So he ordered them from a comic book store, and he says still waiting for them to arrive. And I said, well, you can totally do a delve on giant sea monkeys.
I mean, but in real life, they're like this big. So giant would be what? Just like the kind of
exactly the regular miniature size. Yeah.
Yeah, regular shrimp size or something. Like
fun fact: my first job, I used to grow sea monkeys for food to feed to other critters. So I can tell you more about them than you would ever want to know. They're actually right out near you, Joe, out in California. So that's where they. What?
So you went on LinkedIn and you looked up sea monkey grower. Like, what job description was that?
I was an aquaculture technician.
So aquaculture.
Yeah,
that sounds way fancier than like sea monkey
grow
grower.
fish, and I used to feed them sea monkeys. I used to grow sea monkeys because they were alive, and then I used to feed them to fish to make the fish bigger and spawn. Yeah, I can't make this stuff up, man. Artemia francescana. That's the Latin name. I just dropped Latin on you.
Okay.
Brine shrimp. That's what sea monkeys are. They're cool. They're really neat. You can get it's a whole thing. I could do a whole show on it.
So I was watching this comedian named Nate Bargatze. If you guys have heard him, he's really funny.
Yeah.
He had this whole skit on how he was a water meter reader, and he was like, "That's 100% of the job in the title. It's one of those jobs where the title is the job, water meter reader." And I got to give you credit, Chris. Like aqua, whatever technician, there's more to that job than just the job description. I had no idea or the job title. I didn't know there was brine shrimp wrangling involved.
There was. So
did you have like a little tiny lasso? You like go catch them and then feed them the fish. My cousin married a guy who used to work at a snake farm. Whatever you do to breed snakes, I mean,
I don't do anything to breed them. But
I just sit back and let it happen.
Yeah. I'm not a participant. I'm merely watching. Yeah.
Anyway, if you're tuning in right now, we're talking about brine shrimp and snake breeding. But back on topic. At 300K, this is actually, it was a backer who suggested this. Chris, do you want to talk about the...
Yeah, I think it was Gary, I think was the backer, not the snail. And if you guys get that reference, you know where I'm coming. Actually made this suggestion where, so we showed off the one huge poster map and we were talking about how two of the giant layers are actually mobile. One's a big iceberg that gets towed around by a dragon turtle, and the other one is a cloud fortress that floats around. Well, since he heard we were already doing the cardboard punch out inspiration tokens in the box set, he said, why not a few more tokens for the mobile layers? So as they're moving around, you could track where they are. And then it got us thinking, and we're like, wow, there's other applications we could do too. We could do like a little camp for where the heroes are. We could actually, if we did a players only map that didn't have all the other layers located on it, we could do little maps of each of the locations so that you could kind of mark them. So we decided at 300 that we were going to do additional cardboard tokens in the box, and we'll at least be 2 mobile layers and probably a camp in there, but we might even come up with some cooler ideas. So if you have ideas, throw them in the chat here. If you have ideas during the campaign, if you forget and 2 weeks later you think of something, hit us up in the chat during in one of the comments at the campaign, and we will take any and all. Obviously, since that was not an idea we came up with, and thank you, Gary, we appreciate that 100%. But as you can see, we listen and we actually do tweak our crowdfunding projects around what folks actually mentioned. So no idea is a bad idea. Some might not be economically feasible, but they're not bad ideas.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're gonna do, depending on where we end up, so I gotta sneeze.
Oh, Gary's in the chat. Gary's in the chat. Hey, Gary.
All right, sorry, excuse me. Hi, Gary.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, so we love the idea of using. So we have a cardstock page right now which has inspiration tokens. We can probably fit, depending on certain things, 1 or 2 more punch outs there. But at 300K, we're actually gonna add another like sheet of cardstock, die cut cardstock, probably in the stretch goal pack or something, and then cook up some ideas to take it beyond even what Gary could envision. You know, not even just the like Chris mentioned, some of the mobile layers, but maybe even other icons or other, random encounters, or Chris had several ideas, little cities and encampments, anything that could be like a mobile kind of, or unveiled as a random encounter on the map. Is the idea. So
I want little smushed adventurers, which you can drop on the map. You can track the giants, or maybe thrown pigs. Wasn't that a Brendan adventure where a giant threw a pig? Anyway,
sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea.
Totally random anecdote. My family, we volunteer at food banks, and I took you can become eligible as a child once you're 12. So my older son, I took him at 12 to volunteer at the food bank, and our job was sorting bell peppers. They'd gotten a donation of like 1 billion pounds of bell peppers, from like Albertsons or Safeway or whatever. It was all going to expire. So our job is to sort through the bell peppers that could still be used, versus the ones that had like gone bad or had mold or whatever. But my 12-year-old son had like never seen really bell peppers before, except on pizza. So you learn along the way what your kids know how to do. So we had to teach him how to like what makes a good bell pepper good and what makes a bad bell pepper bad, like how to differentiate. But he very quickly discovered, speaking of hurled objects, that a bad bell pepper is an amazing explosive device. So then he got in trouble with like the food bank staff. It's like if you throw it on the ground, it's like a splatter that's like I had to be the adult. I was like, you can't do that. But I was like, that is pretty cool. You can't do that.
You can't do that inside.
Right. I know. I wish I had like 20 pounds of bell peppers when I was a kid to have like bell pepper fights. Once you see what a moldy bell pepper does when it hits the ground. Anyway, it's pretty cool.
That reminds me of a story that I'll tell you at Fort Wayne.
Right. Not suitable for live streaming?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Everybody remember, when we're there at Dungeon Con, if you'll be at Dungeon Con, ask Matt for the story inspired by discussions of throwing bell peppers.
I don't know what the statute of limitations is on crimes committed with vegetables, but just to be safe, we'll wait.
We'll all find out together.
We might find out.
Yeah.
Chris Wilson said the only thing you could think of with everything we're already providing for stretch goals would be colored map JPEGs if we ever wanted to run this for his digital group. So it's interesting that you bring it up, because eventually I believe we're going to do that. Not with this campaign though, I believe, right?
Probably not, but we have put a lot of thought and energy into how to make our maps more useful and appropriate for, VTT/online gaming groups. So that's a great call. Yeah.
So stay tuned for that.
Yeah. So cool. That was 300K was the additional page of die cut cardstock tokens. And then we're going to go through 325K, and that's going to be a book of maps. So, there's a lot of obviously dungeons to explore in this adventure. And so this will be, actually, maybe Chris, you tell them, it was kind of your idea, the book of maps.
Yep. So this is all through the 9 different chapters. There are a ton of maps. I actually should probably count how many maps there are, but there's a lot of maps. There's more than one per adventure. Let's put it that way. There's probably something like 30 or 40 maps when it's all said and done. Some of them are just tiny little area things. Other ones are like full page sprawls, but just like the book of handouts, where all these maps are going to be in the adventures, nestled right in with the pages of the actual adventure, like you've seen on the preview that we have. This will be a separate book with the maps printed on them, probably digest sized again, that the game master can use, that basically, so he doesn't have to flip the pages back and forth of his regular adventure, that he'll actually have, that he could even, and again, you'll have the PDF of it as well, So you could actually just print out the pages that you need and hang them and put them right in the side of your clamshell box and use your clamshell box as a GM screen,
Yeah.
or tack it onto your other GM screen or whatever. So so again, this is more of a quality of life improvement here at the game table of just it makes it a little bit easier to run when you've got 4 big fat books that the campaign sprawls over. This will just make it a little bit easier to actually run with those maps. So that will be the 325K stretch goal if we make it. So
that gets us to 325K. We're at a little over 200 now. Seems safe to think that'll cover us. But you know, if the backers surprise us, maybe we'll do another stretch goal reveal in a week or 2. But this feels pretty solid right now. Cool.
That's when you'll see the clamshell giant being added to the list.
yeah.
And I already wrote down brine giant. Is there a brine giant, Chris? Because if not,
I've done aquatic giants, but a brine
right.
that's actually pretty good.
It does have a ring to it.
Yeah, I've done a
Yeah.
lake giant. I did a lake giant in Dungeon Denizens. So but yeah,
Nice.
brine giant does sound pretty good. So
Maybe he gets carried around on his mount, which is like 10,000 brine shrimp. You know,
yeah,
Oh.
swarm of brine
He's
shrimp.
riding it.
Swarm of
Yeah.
sea monkeys.
It's
Swarm
like
of sea monkeys.
swarm of sea. It's like a little fuzzy cloud in the water.
Yeah,
and he
it's
gets-
exactly what it is. It's like an orange cloud. That's what they used to look like when we used to grow them. They just looked like it was orange water, and then you grow them under not a microscope, but yeah, they're individual little, yeah,
Really?
it's totally orange. So
Wow,
Interesting.
that's cool. Very cool.
I can't make this stuff up. It's true. All true.
So that is the funding-based stretch goals and the backer count-based stretch goals, which we'll put on the page probably later tonight or early tomorrow for those of you watching, but you get the sneak peek. Help us keep moving, both in terms of backer count, you know, tell your friends, get them to pledge, and that'll open up more slots for us to have backers contribute to the product. And of course, if you can pledge yourself. Yes, I saw Jason's comment in the chat. And also 2 things to mention. So there's 2 ways that you as the existing backer can bump us a little bit and help us clear these stretch goals. One is to upgrade to the clamshell box. So your basic pledge does not have this box. It has a regular box, which is a mighty fine box. But this idea of using the clamshell is more expensive. So it's a $20 upcharge. It's one of the add-ons. So you just add that to your pledge and you will then be upgraded to the clamshell box. And that'll help us clear some more stretch goals. The other thing, Elena, if you can show, I think it's graphic 14, we're doing this compendium of dungeon crawl format now. We did the first 2 volumes last year. They actually sold out within 2 or 3 months of releasing them. And we're going to be doing up to, this will be volume 5 and 6. Chris, do you want to maybe tell everybody what's in volumes 5 and 6?
Yeah, so in each of the it's complicated to say. In each volume, there are 15 adventures. These are all brand new adventures to 5e. They were originally published back in our 3.5 edition days. We've upgraded them to 5e. They're shorter, they're longer than the 2-page delves. Some of them you could probably play in 1 session. They're probably 1 to 2 sessions in play. They focus on lower levels. In each book, there's 10 adventures that focus on levels 1 to 2, and then there's 5 adventures that focus on levels 3 to 4. And again, there is a huge spread of settings, of different encounter types, different terrains, different monsters that you're going to fight, different themes. Some are in deserts, some are on remote islands, some are just classic dungeons. Some written by some famous Goodman Games authors. Harley Stroh has written 2 of them, and I believe Brendan LaSalle's written 2 of them. So they run the gamut.
Is it gamut?
Gamut. It's a gamut. That's it. Thank you. Gamut. Gamut is like is Gamera's little kid brother. So they're super easy to use. You get 15 full adventures in there. Each of these books are about 200 pages long. So it's a nice thick hardcover book for the amount of money that we're charging. It's great value for what you're getting. And again, just the utility of it to be able to pop these out, and there's definitely going to be something for everybody in those books. So we're really, really pleased with the way they've come out, and it's very pleased at the way that they've sold. The fact that 1 and 2 have done so well, and 3 and 4 are coming with the Caverns of Thracia crowdfunding, and then this is for 5 and 6. So in this campaign.
Cool. So if you're an existing backer, tell your friends. And if you haven't already, maybe add on the upgrade to the clamshell box. If you're a new backer on the fence, please feel free to pledge. One of the most popular pledge levels was actually suggested by backers. We did a pledge level reveal about a week before we launched. in one of the comments, I think it was on YouTube, somebody was like, what about this? And it's turned out to be our most popular pledge level, which is basically the main box plus the 4 floppy adventures and 2-page underdelves, I believe, is the pledge level. But if you're not sure where to start, that's a good one. Everybody else seems to like it. Hopefully that'll get us up to 325 and a whole lot of free bonus stretch goals for everybody who backs.
Yeah, people seem to think that we have all the answers, and we have a lot of the answers, but we clearly don't have all the answers. So we appreciate it. It's the fun of actually doing a community-based crowdfunding product, because we get to hear from folks on you get all these different cool ideas, and it definitely does shape the direction that we go in. So we appreciate it. So we love so folks keep interacting, keep dropping comments on the actual crowdfunding page. When we're doing live streams, we read them all, we listen to them all, and we take them into consideration.
Cool. I think that's everything, everybody. So yeah, if we missed your comment in the chat, or if you have anything else, feel free to post in the comments of the crowdfunding, and we'll be happy to address it there.
Great.
Cool. All right.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Thanks, everybody.
All right.
Talk to you
Thanks
later.
very much. Talk to you later.